You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel alright, the kind you wanna stay up with all night. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel whole. They won't leave your side when you lose control. The ones that don't let you lose your soul.
Hey, everybody. I hope you guys had a good break. We took a week off. Really, we didn't take a week off at all because we work at a church, and Easter week is our busiest week of the year. So please have some grace for us. We're back at it. So,
well, we had a successful Easter.
It was good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had we wanted to break at least 10,000. I think we did.
Yeah.
Before COVID, we had some really big Easters, but we were kind of a different church in the fact that a lot of people didn't come back from COVID. But to break that 10,000 mark was really good.
It was great.
A lot of salvations and
it was a wonderful day.
And it was cool. Well, today I'm just going to start right out. And we're going to talk about what is success. I think that's important. I mean, how do you know if you're on the right path that leads to success? Because you sure don't want the ladder leaning up against the wrong wall. And you get there and go, this isn't success. Mm-hmm. So let's just start discussing success. And I think starting out, how would you define success? Do we ever arrive, or does the bar keep being moved up? I'm not sure, but got a lot to say, but let's just hear from you guys first. Is it important to be successful in life?
Yeah, I think it's important to continue to grow, and it's important to set goals and accomplish those goals. But I do think people get caught up in this idea of success that isn't necessarily real. Like you said, the bar keeps moving, so you get to the point where you work really hard to get to a point that you believed you should have been at, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And you get there and it's like, oh man, now I need to get somewhere else. And so I think the most important thing to start that conversation is you have to define what success is to you specifically. I think it's different for everyone.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
I think I was actually researching this years ago, and I found this interesting. Thomas Jefferson, we know him from the Declaration of Independence.
Mm-hmm.
He actually determined his most successful thing on what he did for farming. I didn't even know what he did for farming. I had to look it up. He was the one that invented crop rotation and all these plowing things. And so they were saying all these Thomas Jefferson statues, a lot of them have wheat around his feet because that's what he determined as his most successful thing.
Wow.
And I thought that was interesting.
I thought it was weeds.
I don't think
It's
so.
wheat, huh?
I think it's wheat. But I find that interesting that he kind of determined what was successful to him, even though other people would have said something else about him.
Because that's what was important to him.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's true. I think we have to figure out for us what we think.
Well, why don't we start out talking about what it isn't? I think that'd be good. Materialism.
Yeah.
Like Solomon, at my level, I wasn't at a very high level, but I kind of got caught up in that for a while. I mean, I bought my dream house in the mountains, and after a while I sold it because that didn't scratch my itch. I was at the mall, this was decades ago, saw a little Porsche, and I bought it off the mall room floor. I got to have that car. I got to have it. And I could go on and on. At my level of finances, for a while I thought this is where it's at, but it wasn't. You can get all the things, and I'm convinced doesn't matter what level you go up to, you'll still burn out on them pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But some people do. Some people live in their life for success in that way. Materialism, the guy with the most toys wins.
Yeah. I think we like the admiration that comes with that. When you see a guy in a really nice car, you have to turn and look, right? You go, wow. And then what does that guy do for a living, right? Yeah. There's a joke that we used to say all the time. It came from an Adam Sandler movie, but anybody that would come by in a nice car to be, oh, there goes Burt Reynolds, it's just this idea of that guy's made it, he's at the top of his success. And so I think we get caught into that trap because you can look successful without being successful. And it's way easier to do than to actually be successful.
I saw a really, really fancy car one day, and I just happened to come across it driving through a neighborhood, and the car was 2 times more expensive than the house. But he looks successful when he's out, and he might not have bought it for that reason. I don't want to judge him.
Right.
But yeah, I get it.
My husband is really cautious with money, and he always says that looks like success, but it could just be a lot of debt.
That's what it was to me. At my level, I tried to get as much stuff as I could, and I was just in debt.
Yeah.
It was bad, and it wasn't a good place to be at. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like nice things. If you can get a lot of nice things and still be successful in the way you define it, then that's great.
You know, it's funny. I've thought a lot about what's important to me, and I think that's important to do. And I literally have a deck of cards that has values on it, and I sift through those sometimes, and I think, okay, what's important to me? Like, what is truly important to me? Obviously, my family, obviously, and this is beyond my relationship with God. Of course, that's number one. But on this earth, what do I deem as successful? When I get down to the nitty gritty of it, I think of a lot of things that I'd like to have. You ever play that game of, if somebody handed me $1 million, what would I do with it, right? I think what I would want to do with something like that now versus 10, 15 years ago is I'd want to buy my freedom, right? Not necessarily a new fancy car or, even that house that you've always wanted or whatever. I would want to buy my freedom, which would look like a business or something, you'd use it as a tool to get there. And that's what's important to me, beyond the obvious, right? Beyond my family, beyond my walk with God, beyond even serving at the church. But I would never stop doing ministry either, because I don't do it for money. That's not a way to get rich. So if you're thinking about becoming, a minister, I guess there are ways to do it because some people do it, but typically speaking, it is not a way to get rich. It is not a way to make a lot of money. And, you can get to a place where you're comfortable and you're supporting your family, which is awesome. But yeah, not a money thing. It's hilarious when I see people that think that they're going to, make a lot of money doing that. And with content, I guess creation, you can earn a little bit, but, gosh, it's so far few.
Yeah, but you know what? I would tend to think that the majority of people out there probably have the wrong idea of success. And, fame, we know it's not in fame. Yesterday, I thought it was so cool. I was watching the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, and they have a pitcher, and this guy's like an all-star. He's good, and he's in his prime. He said, the announcer said he's going to make a decision if this is going to be his last year or not. I thought, what? He's probably getting $60 million a year or whatever. And he said he has 2 daughters, and he won't get this chance over again to live with them.
Wise.
And he's thinking about retiring at the end of this year just to be with his daughter. So I'll never get this age back again, this place where they're at. What a wise man.
That is wise.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Because how many people have done the opposite? Squandered the time that they've had with their family to become, successful in the world's ways, and they end up alone in the end a lot of times, And even if they don't, they're not physically alone, they're mentally alone. They're in their own world. They're doing their own thing. They're focused on everything that they have to do and more responsibilities, and
When it comes down to the end, man, and I'm going to give you what I think my top 4 priorities are in a minute, but family's right up there. I was at a conference, pastor's conference years ago, and some guy's playing the piano and singing. He's really good. And come to find out, he was a heartthrob guy in soap operas, big guy. He said he was in the place right now where he's trying to make a decision. He said to give it up because he wanted to pursue glorifying God in music. And it sounded like he said, "I'm gonna take the music position. I'm gonna quit the soap opera." And I thought, that's just music to your ears when people have those kind of values that what I do is more important for God than anything else. Paul. Matter what, I don't know, the last 2 or 3 weeks we've been studying Paul. That guy was at a different level.
Well, I was just thinking about Paul yesterday, and I was thinking about how we do think of success. We do think of living in a certain house in a certain city, having certain things and having all this like this stress-free life because you have all these things, which is like a total lie. But then you think of Paul chained in prison, dictating a letter, and at that time, I don't even know if he realized how famous he was
Yeah.
or
No.
was going to be.
No, he didn't know.
Like, I think he was just doing
Right.
what was in front of him. I think he was just like, this church need some advice right now, so I'm going to give him a letter. And then it ends up being one of the most profound works.
Josh, what did I say Sunday and Easter about comebacks? I said there's 3 qualities I've seen, and one of them is people that make great comebacks don't live in the past or they're not anxious for the future. They live right where they're at.
Yeah.
And they do ministry that's right in front of their nose. Paul proved that again today.
Yeah.
He was in prison, and what was he doing? Pouring his heart out to these people in letters. He was writing letters. He was doing God's work. He wasn't living in the past or being anxious for the future.
Yeah,
And
this
that's so true.
I was just listening to a podcast with this guy who was in special forces and served our country, and now he's somewhat famous. And the podcaster was asking him how, what led him into going into the service in the first place. And he said he was thankful that he lived in such a great country, and in order to pay the country back, he joined the service. And I'm thinking that mentality does not exist anymore. It is, I will do this if it benefits me, and that's it.
It's a lost value.
Yeah, and so I think like the most successful people in the universe that have all, as far as all the people that have ever lived, are the people that sacrifice the most. I mean, the most famous person who's ever lived on earth is Jesus, right? And his whole life was about sacrificing, giving, and loving, and taking care of the people around him, and ultimately sacrificing for all of us. And so that there's something to that, and that takes a depth of maturity to understand. And I think that it takes even a further depth of maturity to follow and actually do.
You know what, Josh? I love quotes. I love epitaphs. I love quotes. And I went through a bunch of quotes on success, and most of them I didn't care for because they were very incomplete. But here's a few I thought was worth repeating. Here's one, and I forgot who this is by. I didn't write them all down, but what you get by achieving your goals is not as important as what you become by achieving your goals.
Yeah, that's right.
It's true.
That's right.
And then another one, here's the one you'll like. Chasing the vision, not the money. Charge says chase the vision, not the money. The money will end up following you. If you get good at what you're doing, it'll follow you.
Years ago, I was really into Francis Chan. He was our. We were just talking about this before with Nicole. She's speaking at Hume. When is that next?
In a week and a half.
A week and a half.
Wow.
So that's really cool.
I have to pray for you.
Yeah. So, but back in high school, when I led high school, our speaker at Hume was Francis Chan. And
so cool.
Which is just a mind blow. We had no idea, and we were really into it. We're like, man, this guy's pretty good. And so we would follow him, and I ended up taking a couple trips. I don't know if you went with me, Vince, but I went down to see me a few times to see him preach.
Church.
Yeah, at his church there. And I remember sitting there in the audience, and he said something so profound at the time, and now I say it all the time, but he said that people would ask him, where do you think you're going to be? Where do you think God's leading you? Like physically, like, is he leading to a different place, a different city? Is he leading you to a different position? And, all these things. And he would always say, it's not a matter of where God is leading me, but it's a matter of who he's creating in me, who I'm becoming. It's a matter of character. It's a matter of change. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, to me, success and growth are synonymous because that's what God calls us to. And, Vince and I were just talking about, like, what it means to do a good job at our job. And I'm never like satisfied with how I do. I want to grow. I want to continue to grow and do a better job as I get older until I die. Like, I just want to continue to grow until I die. And I don't know if that's possible, but that's what I want to do. To me, that's success.
He must have read this quote.
What was that? Oh, the one
quote
we
I just
yeah,
quoted.
the one you just read. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Because, it's true. I have given my life to the ministry, and I don't want to sound like I'm boasting, but I mean, I never really thought about money. That was not an issue with me at all. I'm just saying God is faithful. Never thought about money, and I'm doing well. I told my wife the other day, I said, we haven't taken a raise for like 20 years. What's the deal? And she said, Ron, what do we have what don't we have that we want? She said, why in the world would we take a raise? Just take a raise. Look at it. You got a nice home. You got a little semi-retirement home. We got what we need. And it would just be ludicrous to take money we don't need. And I'm so thankful for wives like that. And of course, I know you're that wife, Nikki. And Vince, I bragged on Hannah today. I was just so impressed. I went home so impressed. Here's a pastor's wife out working the grounds on Sunday, sweating, hot, giving out treats. And I thought, what a contrast from pastors' wives who are the first woman, and I'm sorry, I hate that phrase.
Do they really do that?
Oh,
They
yes.
really say that?
Oh, big, a lot of,
funny.
Josh, you won't believe all the churches that it's the first woman.
You didn't see Hannah with her first woman badge on? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, man.
And we're all servants.
That's so silly.
Yeah.
So silly.
Interesting.
I told you I couldn't even get used to the term reverend or pastor. My first funeral I did was a real hard one. It was a baby like 2 months old that died. And what made it harder was I was doing it for a guy who was a professional killer, and I wanted to do that funeral right. But I remember standing out there with my brand new suit on I just bought, and it took forever. The mortician guy said, "Hey, Reverend." I was looking around, Reverend, looking around. Finally, after 5 times, oh, you mean me? Me? I'm the Reverend? Kind of stumbled into this whole thing. But
yeah, imposter syndrome. I sent out a text to the pastor. We have like a little group text with some pastors that we know. And I sent it out on Monday, which was the day after Easter. I said, welcome to the post-Easter blues. And then I listed a bunch of stuff like how we feel, and the imposter syndrome sets in. Like, who are you again?
Right.
And literally, like, I'll start questioning, like, oh man, did I say it right? Did I do this well? Did I, blah, blah, blah. And then I think about, it doesn't matter what I did. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. Like, I showed up and did my best, but God did the work. He really did. And just remembering that, and that one thought freed me of the depression that comes after,
Josh,
after speaking.
I was
after
doing a pastor's conference. I forgot where it was at one day. And this is so true. And I was saying something funny. I forgot what it was, but I said, do all of you know about the Sunday night blues? Everybody in the house just started, whoa, because every pastor knows about the Sunday night blues. And I think what it is, I think you use all these endorphins, all this different stuff on Sunday morning. You pour yourself out, and then you're on a come down, like this person coming off drugs Sunday night.
Well, I wrote in that text, I said, just think about it. God, the God of the universe, He's divine power flowed through you, and this is for everyone that was there on Sunday. Like, it flowed through us.
Yeah.
Of course, that's gonna feel great, and then there's gonna be a downturn on that. There's
You got
gonna
a
be
drug high.
there's gonna be
A drug
fall.
high on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
Your
in a
mother
lot of ways.
saved me third service because I said, man, I am tired. I just want to take a nap. She says, take some caffeine right now. I said, no. I said, if I take some caffeine this late, third service, I'm not even going to sleep at night because my body metabolizes it all differently now. I'm older. And anyway, she says, please just take a little bit. And I'm so glad I did. I said, that's a small price to pay to be able to do well your third service on Easter. But yeah, you do get the Sunday night blues. And I always tell my wife, if you have criticism, don't give it to me on Sunday. Don't want to hear it.
That's true.
Because you are coming down from that high.
Yeah.
Milton Berle. Now, you don't even know who Milton Berle is. None of you probably.
Milton Berle?
No. Do you know?
No, Milton Bradley is.
Milton Berle.
Yes. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
you're like,
You have to be old
like,
to know who this
Monopoly?
is.
yeah.
But anyway, he said, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. And I thought that's so true. I'll go back to you. I really wanted a good high school for you, and I couldn't find one, so what did I do? Built my own. And for you and other kids, all the kids in our church, it wasn't just you, but a lot of parents coming to me, can't find a good high school. Okay, we'll just build it, man. We'll build a door. We'll build one. And I could go on and on because I've when after we had VBF going, I thought I want another church to invite me to come and help them build because I like building a church, and no one was inviting me, so I built my own churches, or we did through God's power. So we built our own churches and we built our own high school. So I go back to that Milton Berle, if opportunity doesn't knock, build the door. Do it yourself.
Yeah.
And now I'm so busy, I don't have time to help other people build their church. But
I think that's a huge part of being successful is when people tell you you can't do something and you know you're supposed to do it, that you do it anyways, regardless of what the crowd says.
That's your thing.
no, that's Vince. That's Vince. I like him, though. I'm just like you.
But I think
I'm
that's,
not like that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, because you went back to school at a late age and you went and got your degree, and most people would say don't do that.
Well, there's one critic that I have to fight every single day. This guy.
Yeah, right.
It's me. It's myself. I mean, I'm the one that's doubting myself more than anything. People don't. I mean, most people don't just share their opinion about what you should do with your life. You think they do, and it's really your voice. It's really you,
and not the truth.
You're like, oh, there's no way I can do this, and obviously they think I can't do it, and obviously there's no way. It's easy to get caught up in that. But for you actually have had some criticism. We've all had criticism, right? I just showed you some of mine the other day.
I have a degree in it.
And that fires you up. To me, it makes me want to fight them. That's what it makes me want to do. I just want to fight the person, like online. I want to get on there and be like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about, and that's so silly that my level of maturity is so low, usually on Monday mornings.
Yeah. Well, I think that comes down to, there's a lot of people that don't do stuff because they've been told their whole life that they can't do it.
Yeah.
And so it paralyzes them.
Well, teachers.
Or whoever.
Yeah.
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 You think about Bob Dylan has a terrible voice, became one of the most known folk singers in the world. Michael Jordan, who got cut from high school sports.
Yeah.
One of the greatest basketball player of all time. And so, when you have,
is that true? Did he really get cut from high school?
From high school.
The high school team?
Yeah, high school.
That's wild.
But, you just think about these things, and there's a time where you have to arise to the occasion where you're like, I'm going to put the work and the effort in.
Right.
There has to be some skill set there. We've talked about this before. Sure. But there also has to be some effort where you believe in yourself and you believe that you can do it. And I like what you said about this. I'm sure when you said I'm going to open a school, 100 people probably told you can't do that.
Oh, Vince, they were calling me. I remember some influential people in Bakersfield saying, and what makes you think you can open a school?
Right.
I said, I can't, but if God wants me to do it, he'll give me the resources.
Right.
Yeah.
And we had to have people with certain degrees and everything, and God, we did it, But Vince and I think you would agree, Josh, we're kind of, him and I both are kind of wired the same way.
Yeah.
Don't tell us we can't do something.
Yeah, I agree.
That'll just ag us on all the more.
Yeah. I don't like being told I can't.
But going back,
I'm always counting the cost, and I'm like, oh, it's a little too high. It's just terrible.
It's got to be worth it, right?
Yeah,
I think I'm in that ballpark.
And so I end up being more successful in the things that I accept as responsibility rather than things I go out and try to do. And that's not good. I need to change that.
Yeah.
So admitting that.
Well, we're different. I bragged on all you guys in this morning's Bible study. I got them all, I think.
You did. You bragged on a lot of people.
Yeah.
Should have been here. It felt good.
Oh, yeah.
Your blues would have went away.
Yeah. And by the way, we do have a podcast, folks, Off the Mountain podcast, a new podcast every Thursday, and we're almost at 100, which is really a good goal to meet. But I want to give you two more comments. I don't want to spend the whole podcast on wise sayings, but don't be afraid to give up the good to go for the great. That's what John Rockefeller said.
Yeah, you said that a long time ago. You repeated that a long time ago, and that stuck with me because there's so many things that are good, So many things. If you're on a diet, a chocolate bar looks really good, Well,
the Bible says from glory to glory.
Yeah. I always relate
He's
it to
moving
the
us.
pruning too. I think that's a great analogy for pruning because God honestly cuts off the good to give you the great, and that's never fun.
Oh, I love that. But
It's a natural
most
way.
people won't yield to pruning. That's the only way you're going to get. I had fruit trees. I had a bunch of apple trees, and I didn't prune them for a year or two. And they started producing lots of apples, but they were all little dinky things. And I had to go in and prune them in order to get bigger apples.
It's funny, the tree analogy. I've been wanting to do a sermon on trees for a long time. And have you noticed that when you walk around in the forest, there's no fruit trees? Or if you walk around in just the city, there's no flourishing fruit trees. It's because they require maintenance. They require somebody to work them. And that, if you really want, there are places like Hawaii, different places that fruit does grow on trees naturally. So don't get crazy. But for the most part, it doesn't work unless we work on it.
Yeah.
You have to water, regularly. You have to till the ground. You have to make sure the soil is good. You have to put the enrichment in there. Like, there's so many different things you have to do. And I think that when our lives lack fruit, right, which is whatever you expect to see out of your effort, and if the fruit of the Spirit's different, that's love, joy, peace, patience. Those are also really important fruits, because I think if you have those, then you've probably made it in life. But you have to work towards all those things. You just do. You have to continue. You have to to have maintenance. You have to. Vince, you said it for years and years and years. You got to grind it out. You got to grind it out. You got to grind it out. And I'm like, you're right. You do. And grinding, the word itself, doesn't seem like a really impressive thing. It's just something you're doing. You're just consistently doing it. All the successful people I ask, I'm like, what's the most important thing? They're like, consistency. They always say it over and over and over.
We had a very successful radio program for decades. In fact, I visited a church up in Porterville, which is quite a ways away. And I walked in, and they had a pastor from Dublin. He's been there about 20 years. And he was kind of standing in the doorway. I didn't know it was the pastor. I said, "Excuse me, sir, can I get by?" He said, "Hey, you were on the radio for years up here, weren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." "You still live in Springville?" And I said, "No, I don't live in Springville." "What else are you going to ask me? You know a little too much." But, Josh, it's so true, which leads me to my last quote, Thomas Jefferson. He said, "I find that the harder I work, the more luck I seem to have." And that's true.
Yeah.
Hard work. I mean, consistency. And I think I told the group today, when did I say this? I forgot. I think it was today. But no joke, Josh. And I really believe it was God. It was too powerful, and it came out of nowhere, and it was repetitious. I was going home from church decades ago, and I was just really had one of those down days. And I go, "God, my sermon was horrible. You know it was horrible, and I know it was horrible. I didn't study. I watched football this week. God." And I really started getting down on myself. And I said, "You know what? I can't do anything right, God. Why'd you choose me? Got the wrong guy. I just can't do anything right, and I'm tired of it." And I felt this echoing voice in my head going, "Oh, you're doing something really right." "I am." "You should keep showing up. You just keep showing up."
Yeah.
That's what it takes. But going back to that radio program, I was going to say something. They told me when I started radio broadcast, I wasn't going to do one, and I had some elders from our denomination that came in one day. So you need to be on the radio. I said, "Radio? Never thought of it." Of course, we went on the radio in 440 cities every day across the United States. And I read something, and they said to have a successful radio program, the average time that we've figured out to make it successful is you got to stick around about 5 years before you really start being successful. And at that time and that age, I think that was true. And after several years, we were very popular on the radio. And
do you think that fear of success is a thing?
Fear of success? I don't know. I've never really feared success myself, but for some people it might be.
The reason I ask is you said something at the beginning of the podcast, and it made sense. You don't want your ladder leaned up against the wrong building.
Yep.
And I think over the years, I've definitely had that. I don't want to be pigeonholed. I don't want to be stuck. And so I've talked about before where my favorite place in life in the past has been the fork in the road. I like the fork, At the fork, I can just sit a lawn chair down and think, man, I have options. You feel rich when you have options.
Yeah, you want to have 6 ladders.
Right.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I have a ladder there and there and there.
You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
oh, look at me.
Yeah,
like I have all these options, but yet you're not getting anywhere,
Right.
Like, years ago, I had what I would consider kind of a vision. I don't even know how to explain how it happened, but praying a lot, and just God gave me this vision. And he showed me, and I've changed since then. I don't want people to think that I'm still, a child. But when I was a child, I never committed to anything, fully. Like I would halfway commit. And God gave me a vision one day, and 2 visions actually. And I remember where I was, Dad. I was at your house up in Bear Valley Springs, the first one you had there. And he gave me the vision of you're digging holes for water, but you're not digging deep enough. So it kind of gave me a vision of like I have all these half dug holes, because I'll dig and be like, oh, that's not it. Go to the next one. Oh, that's not it. Go to the next one. Oh, that's not it. And all I had to do is just dig a little further, dig a little deeper. The other vision that he gave me was sweeping the driveway. I think I was literally sweeping your driveway that day. And I was thinking the vision was that you sweep all the dust to one side of the driveway, and at your old house, it was a driveway and then it was dirt on the other side, right? You sweep it to one side, and then you walk around and you sweep it to the other side, and then you walk around and you sweep it to the other side, and you're working against yourself, and because like I had this fear of watching you. I watched you be successful, and I watched how hard it was to work that hard and what you sacrificed and how it affected you. And I was afraid of that. I was afraid of the responsibility of it. You know, I was afraid of all these things. Now I understand it's a lot different. You know, you obviously the opposite of success is not what you want. You know, you're not after failure or, you know, looking back and thinking I wish I would have done more. Now, you know, now I fully get it. But back then I was just so afraid of working hard toward one thing because that meant I couldn't do the other thing.
You might have the ladder up against the wrong wall. That's what you think.
Yeah, you have to make a choice, you know, at some point. And I do know, I have talked to people before that worked really hard, and they're like, man, I worked really hard, but this isn't where I really wanted to be.
That's sad. People go to school,
you know,
spend all these years and go, I don't want to do this. What was I thinking?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that. Well, I just didn't know any better. I wasn't a real smart guy. I was a kid, 24 years old, starting out. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
It's probably the best way to do it, though, to be honest, because then you're like not overthinking it. You're just going for it.
Hey, I just got so excited about God when I found him. I never thought he was real. And I go, doggone, he's real. I just wanted to go out and tell everybody about it. I've said it before. Is how did you get to be the pastor of a mega church? Well, in my case, I just started this doggone Bible study and it got out of control. And this is what it turned into. I was going to school. I want to be an attorney. I want to be a lawyer. That was my whole thing. And but God had different plans. And so I just don't think I had much of a choice because I wasn't real talented in anything else and didn't have a desire for anything else. I would have liked to have been a lawyer, attorney. I would have been liked that a lot. But anyway, God has his plans. And now it's just, you know, I wanted to retire probably 2 or 3 times or 4 or 5 the last 20, 30 years. But it's like God said, you know what? This is not a choice. It's just either do you want to obey me or not? I told you to do this. And so now, of course, it's too late. I got to give up the fact that I'll never be a rodeo star and I can't go try out for a baseball team. I'm through. So might as well give it all I have. I got one last quote from Albert Einstein. These are all wise men. He said, try not to become a person of success, but rather try to become a person of values. Isn't that what Joseph did?
Yeah.
We talked about it Sunday. I mean, these were the people that, you know, had comebacks.
Yeah.
And they just purpose.
Well, and then you can deal with the setbacks easier when you're trying to chase the values and not the success. Because I think, you know, you look at success stories, but you never see all of the failures they had along the way. And we just think, oh, they were an instant success. Nobody is an instant success, but that's what we see. And so then when we have our setbacks or we have our failures, we just give up. We kind of like hide under that pile of rubble.
You think about Apple computers and Steve Jobs in his garage making microchips out of his garage, you know, in San Francisco. And that's just a mind blow to think that somebody that was willing to put in the work, it looked like this isn't going anywhere, you know, and it did. And so
the more I think of success, man, the more I think of the fruits of the Spirit. Like really, honestly, because you can change, you can create the best product. You could have the best business. You could be, you know, even somebody who is meaningful in society, in history. But if you don't have peace, you don't have joy, you're not a patient person, then what have you accomplished, right? Like, I think that so many of us think that if I get this, then I will feel this way or be this way. But the truth is, we can all find peace right now. All of us. We were talking about Paul again, chained, in prison, dictating letters. I don't know if he felt peace, but he talked about it. So I think there were moments when he felt peace, right? So I think that was his goal. When he talked about the fruit of the Spirit, I think when he wrote that in Galatians, he was thinking about what's the most important thing, you know? And people think that there's different ways to get that, but in my opinion, there's only one way, and that's to surrender to. I thought it was John. To God.
I thought it was Apostle John, and I don't remember now. I just getting kind of fuzzy on my thoughts concerning this, but I I thought they said they would carry him from church to church in his older age, and he'd go out. And I think it was him. Don't repeat this until you check it out. But everywhere they brought him, he'd walk out and just say, "Love one another." And anyway, he would leave. That's all he would say. And it's simple. It really is simple.
Yeah.
Follow your heart. Do that. I feel sorry for people who have jobs that they hate. In our situation, I have a job that I would probably do if I wasn't paid. It comes from my heart. And whatever you do that comes from your heart, you'll get good at. And like I say, the money will follow. The success will follow. But I think so many pastors are in the ministry and they've chosen it as a job. If you're in because you chose it as a job, you probably need to get out. It's a choice usually of obedience or disobedience.
See, I've always taken that thought, and the verse pops in my mind: "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And I've always taken that as whatever's important to you, invest that into a certain area, and then you'll start caring about it. What you invest in, you'll care about. That's another saying that I used to have: is invest in what you believe in what you invest in. If you give your time, which is if we come down to like, what do you have, right? It's like, well, I have money, I have this, I have that. Okay, but like, if you didn't have any of those physical things, like, what do you actually have? Like, what are you carrying with you all the time? Well, you have your time, you have your energy, you have your personality, you have your talent, you have your ability to learn. That's what you have. That's like what you bring to the table. And if you invest that into something that's good, then your heart is going to follow that. And so we got to the point where it's like, okay, I know, Dad, and I know that I know you and Vince, and you too, Nicole, you guys could all easily focus on making money, or focus on building a business, or focus on, some sort of creative thing and be successful. But I think we all got to the place where we asked ourselves the question, what's the most important thing on this earth? And for us, it's faith, it's God.
Yeah.
And so we've invested our time, our energy, our money, our talents, whatever we have, we've invested that into our relationship with God. And that has been the most fulfilling thing I've ever found. Much better. Like I feel like there was a moment in my life where it got really dark for me, really hard. And I had to evaluate and think, what if I lose everything? And at one point I was like, I can lose everything on this earth, but I won't lose God. He won't lose me. Like, he won't let go of me. And it was at that moment that everything changed for me. Everything. Like, it was like no fear. Like the anxiety went away. Everything went away that was dragging me down. Like, the devil literally had no power anymore. Like, it was like crazy, dude.
Right.
It's like, I can lose everything. I could, like, everything could be gone, but I won't,
I'm so much smarter today, Josh, because right now, and even I think this would have been true for 3 decades, I just didn't know it as well as I know it now. You could offer me any job in the universe. You could be the most successful attorney in the United States. You could be a doctor who saves lives all the time. Offer me anything, but I have to do what I'm doing. This is what God's called me to do. And none of that would even come close. Now, your husband's a medical doctor because that's what he's called to do. And he probably absolutely loves it. But I said here, let's talk about where the journey of success starts at. What's the beginning point? And I'm going to give you this and let you guys to talk. But I sat down and wrote out a list of values in my life, the top 4 in order of importance. This is for me. My number 1 priority is nurturing people in a relationship with Christ and staying close to God. That's number 1. Number 2 is going to sound kind of weird to you, but my health, that's number 2. Because if I can't achieve these other goals if I'm not alive. If I'm not around, I can't achieve them.
Yeah.
I've got to keep myself alive.
Yeah.
And then my third one is my wife, kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids. They're third. Finances come in 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell they're down the road.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got to do these things. And I think once you list your values, now. There's a lot of things you'll say no to that don't give to these 4 areas.
Yeah.
Those are the areas I've got to look at.
The only issue with finances is your lack of finances or your inability to manage your finances. Is that connected to your stress level and your anxiety? Because if it is,
Sure.
Work on that. And then also work on the anxiety, because, you can only do so much every day. You can only focus on what you can focus on. Make rules, do what you got to do to alleviate the anxiety. Because if you can do that, then, it's going to be okay. And then they say, what do they say? If you have enough money to put food on the table, have a roof over your head, and have basic, necessities taken care of, that the level of happiness from that person to somebody who's a billionaire is very little. The difference is very little.
True. I believe that.
Money can't buy happiness. Although, I'm sure temporarily you can have a pretty fun weekend if you had a lot of money, right? But
can buy you a boat.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But then that boat, right? Here's the funny thing. Is like the best part of buying the boat is buying the boat. Like, that's fun, dude. Like, going, you know what I mean? Like, you get to go and you get to look at it and you get to check it out. And then once you have it, all of a sudden you have a responsibility.
Maintenance and all
right?
That
you
stuff.
have maintenance. You have like
somebody's going to mess up your boat.
Yeah. Like, are there cats living in my boat? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like,
does my boat have a leak?
Yeah. All of a sudden it goes from like this happiness. So like, I think the best thing you can do if you have that problem is just to go shop and then just say no.
Josh, right now, Vince knows this better than anybody.
Just kidding.
Not the first one, but the second part of this. I just had to have 2 electric bikes. Live in the mountains, beautiful. Rode them once. They got flat tires, spider webs all over them.
I was going to go borrow one of them.
Yeah. And then I wanted a Honda for the kids.
Oh, man.
Drove them once. Now we got to keep their battery up, everything.
But
else.
how much fun was it to go look at them?
That's
and
it.
buy
Oh, man, that was
We're going to have so much fun.
Moment.
The dream of having fun.
Yeah.
That's why I load up my Amazon cart and then delete it. Like, it just feels
dopamine.
really good. It feels good, right?
I'm going to try that
dopamine. It's like a dopamine hit, you know?
It's funny because we equate, finances with success a lot.
Yeah.
We think about we think about the word success and we think about finances and we put the two together. And in the parable of the sower, Jesus talks about the person being their seeds stolen or their seeds snatched up because the thorns, and he equates those thorns to finances and pressure and circumstances. And it's really, really interesting because I do think we think if we have enough, that's going to put us in a place where we feel successful, where we feel like we've made it, or we have arrived, or we can do more. And Jesus says the exact opposite in the parable. He says those thorns will come in and actually steal the seed that God's planted in you because it wasn't what you thought it was.
So you got me on studying salvation, biblically.
Okay.
I don't know how far I should go with this right now, but I will say that the Bible makes it very simple. Salvation is belief in the Lordship of Jesus Christ is what it is. But one of the things that stuck out to me when I was looking at this is the rich young man that comes to Jesus. Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?
Right.
First of all, he's like, why do you call me good? I don't know why he corrected him on that, but he did. That's a whole sermon, I'm sure, that I can figure out one of these days. But he gave him a list of commands. And the rich young man said, well, I've followed those. And he's like, well, what else is there? And he looks at this guy and he says, sell everything you have. Come and follow me. Which was like the deal of the century.
Yeah.
Right? You get to follow Jesus. You get to walk with Jesus. Like, could he have been like, could he have replaced Judas, right? Like, could he have been one of the disciples? I don't know, but he would have been a follower of Jesus, like actual Jesus.
We've been talking about 13, right?
And so he walks away and he's grieved because that his wealth had a hold on him, and Jesus knew that. And so obviously salvation is simple belief and faith in Jesus as Lord and Savior, but it's like everyone has something holding them back from fully giving your life over to God at some point. And I think even Christians have some things holding them back for a while. And Jesus, he knew right away. And so I guess that's the big question is like, what is holding you back from just fully
Let's
living
go
the
back
life
to that
you're called
story,
to
though,
live.
Josh. Let's go back to that story. And again, it is my opinion. He wasn't asked about heaven. He was talking about the quality of the life, but that's neither here nor there. But when you go back to that story, if that young man would have known what we know today in Scripture, that anything you give up for the kingdom is given back 100-fold in this life and the life to come, both, he wouldn't have had a hard time doing that because the Lord would have given it all back
Oh
to him.
man, how much time do we have? I was thinking about the thief on the cross, and there's two thieves on the cross, right? One of them mocks Jesus and says, if you're the Son of God, you'll bring us, use your Son of God power and bring us down from this cross. And I had this thought, and it was, if Jesus would have brought him down from the cross, would he have lived his life for Jesus? And it's funny because as Christians now, like you said, we have this God did take us off the cross. We are forgiven. We don't have punishment on death, or we don't have punishment for our sins. And we still aren't living for Jesus the way that he's called us to live.
Right.
And so I think, we fantasize if God would just do this for us, and if you just do that and this, and then we would walk. If God would show up with his power, then we would walk. Well, he's done. The power is done. It's already been done. It's just the recognizing, right? Going back to the parable I talked about, it's like seeing, hearing, understanding. And I think that's where we fall short, because we've been told what to see, we've been told how to hear, and we understand everything based upon what we've been told and what we've seen. And really, when we put our focus back on Jesus, when we see Jesus, when we hear Jesus, that's when we'll understand.
Yep.
But because our filters are messed up,
Yep.
we can't fully see. I love that you talked about in Bible study this morning. I don't know if you ever noticed at Bible study, you're probably wondering, what is Vince doing on his phone? But he'll share something, and then I
can't see.
Okay,
that.
good. That's
At my
good.
age right now, I can't see that far.
So I start looking down at my phone because you brought up a really interesting thing this morning. You talked about I equated it back to Isaiah 6, but you said in Bible study this morning, you said, what was it? Oh, it's gonna lose me.
It must have been a real important
No.
point.
It was really because I got caught on the Isaiah point. It had to do with abiding in God. You talked about
What was it speaking to you?
Anyways, the point is that one of the things that he talked about, it brought me back to Isaiah. You shared the scripture the other day, and it was this idea of just being like our closeness to God. The closer we get to God, the more that we realize that we're of unclean lips. We're inadequate.
Yeah.
And we're always going to have this inadequacy. It was, working out salvation. Sorry, you talked about
With fear and trembling.
Fear and trembling. Well, in that scripture in Isaiah, if you go back and you read it, it says when the holiness of God, there was trembling in that place.
Yeah.
That when they were crying, that they were trembling, the seraphim, the walls were shaking. And then there was this fear when Isaiah said, woe am I, like woe is me of unclean lips. And so it's this fear of trembling. So I feel like the working of salvation is the closer we get to God, the more that we realize that we are not adequate, and the more that we do need the cross. Yeah. And it's this constant moving towards God, because there's no arrival, right? No. There's no arrival. You might be like, oh, yep, I'm finally holy. I figured it all out. And then if you're really getting close to God, you go, woe is me. Like because there's always something that you're missing. And so I feel like, when we get in the throne room, I got excited. Throne room of God, when we get in the throne room of God, there's always going to be this fear and trembling because we're realizing that we're inadequate.
That's so right on, Vince. You got that point. I talked about that verse this morning. We have a generation of Christians that do not want to fear God. It cramps their style. And I said, if you notice this verse, it says we got to work out what he's already put in and do it with fear and trembling. And I said, you know what? When we talk about this kind of stuff, very often we got the guy in the back going, I'm not saved by works, by grace. And we hear that all the time. Once you get close to telling somebody you got to change your life, you got to walk with the fear of God. Well, what are you saying? I said in the Bible study this morning, the people that are crying out, we're not saved by works, not saved by works, they're the ones that don't have any works. That's why they're crying out. They get mad when you touch that subject.
When it comes down to grace and work, or when it comes down to works versus grace, I always think of Christmas morning. And I think, parents went out and bought your kid something. We spent time, we spent money. It was effort. We came back, we wrapped them nicely, we put the bow on it, and we put it under the tree. their whole responsibility is to come out and just open the present. And that wasn't hard for them. And I always think of like Jesus, he did everything for us. He wrapped us the best present ever, salvation, which is connection to God, right? And all we have to do is open it, but we still have to open it. We still have to receive it and open it. And that's nothing that we did. We can't take credit for that. We can't just be like, oh man, like I earned this. No, you didn't. It was a gift.
Well, you know what, Josh? We're afraid to fear God. We don't like that subject, but it's in the Bible whether you like it or not. And again, we're not saved by good works, but we're saved for good works. And that's total two different principles.
That's good. I like that.
We come into salvation not by our works. We couldn't get enough good works to be saved. But once we get there, and it's like I used this morning, the illustration of a tree. A tree, if it abides, it just automatically produces fruit. And once you start forcing yourself to produce fruit, that's where you go into legalism. That's where you get into legalism. And so going back to the fear of God, I said it this morning. I said, I'll use myself. Maybe this will give you a better perspective. I love my kids. I mean, I was a guy, you and your mom both, we lived for our kids. But I think my kids, when they were smaller, had a fear for me. I wouldn't mess around. But they knew their dad loved them. And that fear and love can't go together. I brought the illustration, you'll love it. When you were about 18, 20, I don't know, whatever. And I don't know what you were doing down at the church, but we had a board meeting. Doug DeBerti and those guys, and they were tough guys. And so we had a board meeting, and so they dismissed it, and those guys went out and egged you on. I was in there praying. I was doing something holy. And I came out, and Josh is in the back
Parking lot
doing Brody's in his truck. And all these tough guys were laughing. They were applauding him. And I remember yelling out, "Get your butt home. We'll talk about this when we get home, buddy. Right now." And all these guys scrambled like cockroaches, all these tough board members. They knew I was ticked. And I said...
That wasn't something I would normally do, but they dared me. They're like, I dare you to do this. All right.
Josh had a smile on his face, just turning Brody's. And I was out there, and when they saw me come, the guys go, "Oh, crap." I was just staring at him.
He was 40, by the way.
I think they were. I think they were afraid.
But doesn't that kind of ring true? That when you have a good parent, you know they love you, but you also have a fear for them because they're not going to let you get by with crap.
Yeah, I wasn't the smartest kid because what's funny is we had just
you and Vince blew up my backyard one day.
Oh yeah, that was just fire. That was just fun and fire. That's what I like to call that. Fireworks, man. It was fun.
That's one of my favorite stories, by the way.
What?
Just in the backyard, because we're sitting back there, and I think you were 20-something I can't remember.
I was 20, I think.
20, and
Yeah.
I remember you saying, you're like, my dad's going to come back here and be like, what are you doing? You're 20 years old. You know, you're causing havoc in the neighborhood. And I'm not kidding. It was like a minute later, you walk out and you go, "Josh, what are you doing? You're 20 years old. You're doing this thing." And I mean, I'm trying not to laugh, but I'm afraid too. I'm also fearful of them. And so I'm trying not to laugh because I'm like, oh my goodness, this is actually happening in real time.
I didn't do a lot of bad things when I was a kid at all, but occasionally there would be some illegal fireworks happening. And I remember we shoved this bottle rocket in the grass in the backyard where I was living with you guys, and we lit it, and it didn't take off. It just blew up right there.
Oh, it blew a huge hole in the grass.
I have stories about Vince.
Yeah.
I came home one day, and I looked, and I go, "What the heck?" A window was down. There's a water hose going into my house. I go, "What's going on?" And there's Vince is moving in. He's got his water bed. He's filled his water bed up. And they go, "What?" And then Vince will go back.
We're fancy with water beds.
Yeah.
we have, this is why our succession plan is working, the three of us together.
Got history.
I mean, history, yes.
true.
Here we're at Valley High School, I guess it was.
I'm probably 15, by the way.
And they're going to kick Vince out, him and another guy, your crony. Forgot his name.
Brian Manueli.
Yeah, you don't have to say
Yeah, I'll
names.
say Brian. Brian's driving for UPS. He's okay.
Brian,
Mr.
awesome.
Manueli.
They're going to kick him out of school. And so I came in and I said, hey, let me have a go at him. And I started kind of reaming them. And they were there going, they were wanting to laugh. They were. I don't know if they were cracking jokes or whatever, but they were trying
was
not
just
to
nervous
laugh.
laughter, I
but
think.
they were
nervous
laughing. And anyway, I said, I'm going to save your tail end here. I'm going to give you another chance. So we have a lot of history that goes back.
Wow.
Going up the mountains looking for people with black parkas on and glowing eyes. And,
Well, we've been working under you for over 20 years too, and that's something it's funny because people are like, "Oh, you guys are taking the church over," how are you? I think they just think that we've done nothing, and then all of a sudden we're going to do that. No, we've been working with you for 20 years,
Right.
and there's been lots of ups and downs and lots of all kinds of things.
We're
that have
used to
happened
one
during that
another.
time. Yeah, exactly.
I will come out pretty soon. Come on, you guys are 40 years old. What are you thinking?
It's happened. That's already happened, I'm pretty sure.
What are you thinking? I'll tell you one thing. I thought it was a genius plan what you guys did for Easter. I mean, that comeback thing was done so classy.
It worked out well.
And I couldn't have done it better. And as my first Easter, I didn't even go down to practice.
The video they made was just so good.
Tremendously good.
KB bailed out right now like he normally does, but he did a really good job on that video.
Yes, he did.
And if you haven't seen it, try to find that online.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube under at VBF Church.
Really good.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you know what? Going back to what I was going to say earlier, and I didn't finish it. Finances are fourth on my list of values because finances are important because then I can go visit the grandkids when I want. I have the money to do it. I can be there for my grandchild, my great-grandchild, and on and on and on. And I have the money and the insurance for good health to keep me healthy, or good health insurance. And so anyway, I got so much more to say, but this can be a short one today because I know a lot of us have appointments or whatever, but take this to a close however you want.
I'll add, I think when I'm determining like success for my life, one of the questions I ask is, what is something only I can do? Whether it's the gifts or talents that the Lord has given me or whatever it is, but like,
That's good.
I am the only one that can tuck my kids in at night.
That's right.
True.
And love on them. Like I am the only one for certain ministry situations to talk to somebody and kind of get a hold of them because of my past, because of what I've gone
I
through.
love that you said that because I don't know if we ever put parenting into the equation of being successful, but I've heard the story over and over and over. People that become famous, people that come, they always say my parents supported me so much and they allowed me to do this. And that is huge. Encouragement, just loving on your kids, just like, it's huge.
Yeah. There's certain skill sets that God has only given you to do. I mean, just asking the question, like, what's something only I can do? Because all success is never one person anyway. Like, look, you guys are the trio. Like, you're together. You work as a team. And so our success is never our own anyway. So delegate the things that somebody else can do for your own success and do the things that only you can do.
Nikki, I was at a pastor's conference again a while back, and someone asked me the question, what is one of the number one keys to success in ministry? And I said, one of the number one things is surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
Getting people that can do what you can't do, and get very, very, successful people who know their stuff.
That's what you mentioned Doug DeBerti earlier, and very successful guy. But he told me that when I was around that age, he just said, well, I asked him, I said, what's the biggest key to success? He said, getting people around you that are better at doing things than you are.
Yep.
And the things you can't do.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's it. That is right.
Yeah.
And to do that, you can't be threatened by somebody else's success.
Right.
To do that,
No,
right?
I think Vince and I have like been in a place our whole lives where we just really do, we applaud people when they're successful. We really want other people to be successful.
We work with a whole team of people that we know can do better if they went out to other places.
Yeah.
You yourself included. Pastor Ron just said it, or Josh just said it. And so, it's amazing to have a team where like everybody's on the team is working for one purpose.
Yeah.
But they're all individually rock stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
And we've got a phenomenal staff today. I just can't believe it.
There he is.
Phenomenal.
KB came back in. I complimented you and you didn't hear it. So sorry, buddy.
So
That was
you'll
that-
have
that was
to
that-
listen to the whole podcast
Yeah.
to hear it.
Yeah.
but
that's
he
right.
insulted you first.
Yes.
And then he felt he had to compliment you to
Yes,
make up for
the
it.
insult was a good one too. So
Yeah.
you'll have to listen to it later.
Well, you know what? I think that's all we have to say about this right now at this time, huh?
Absolutely. All right,
And
guys.
We'll go from here. We love you guys, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yep. So
God bless.
see ya.
You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel alright. The kind you wanna stay up with all night. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel whole. They won't leave your side when you lose control. The ones that don't let you lose your soul.